So good morning, Harbour Club members. Thank you so much for joining us for our virtual business breakfast series on the big recovery strategy. Before we get started, I want to let you know that your mic is muted. If you have any questions today, please go to the control panel on the bottom of your screen and use the chat or the Q&A box. My name is Missy Parker, and I'm one of the membership directors at the Harbour Club, and we are so excited to be hosting this series today, and we are especially excited to introduce Mr. Bryan Derreberry and Mr. Tim Rogers. Mr. Derreberry is the president and CEO of the Charleston Metro Chamber of Commerce, and he's also on our founding board of governors for the Harbour Club at West Edge. Mr. Derreberry leads one of South Carolina's largest chambers in its regional advancement work, securing economic prosperity for businesses and residents of today and tomorrow. Through the platforms of talent, government relations, regional advancement, leadership, and membership development, Mr. Derreberry, the chamber staff, and volunteer leaders drive regional, private, public sector collaboration and success for businesses large and small in our three-county metropolitan area. Joining him is Mr. Tim Rogers. Mr. Rogers is Senior Vice President of Membership at the Charleston Metro Chamber of Commerce. As a leader of membership sales and retention teams, Mr. Rogers works to increase the Chamber's membership through the development and execution of sales and retention strategies that bring long-term value to members of all sizes. The Charleston Metro Chamber of Commerce is the oldest continually operating chamber in the U.S., comprised of approximately 1,700 members, collectively employing 160,000 people, more than 1/4 of Greater Charleston's workforce. It is accredited by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce with 5 stars and is one of 0.2% of chambers nationally that has achieved a 5-star accreditation 3 times. The chamber was chosen as America's top metro chamber in 2018, congratulations gentlemen, by the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives. So without further ado, I hand this off to Mr. Derreberry and Mr. Rogers. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
We're now going to become Bryan and Tim. Whenever I hear Mr. Derreberry, I look over my shoulder for my dad. Thank you for that great welcome. We're thrilled to be with the Harbour Club's membership this morning, and we hope that all of you are safe and well and excited for what's going to happen in the months ahead. And Tim and I are going to kind of weave 2 stories together this morning. The first one is how our organization, like yours, had to pivot around the second week of March. So we're excited to talk about that opportunity. The second one is we're going to share Reignite, a safe return to business for the Charleston region plan that, oddly enough, you will be hearing about with the first PowerPoint presented in public, one of the first, and the plan will be released later this afternoon. So you're definitely going to be in the know with regard to the Reignite plan. You know, Tim has one of the absolutely coolest jobs in America. He gets to work with those 1,700 members and every size company, every county. So we're going to have him talk a little bit about his role before we jump in to our business plan.
Thanks, Bryan. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see so many familiar faces on the call. Thanks to Missy and our friends at the Harbour Club for inviting us this morning to join you. It's a privilege to be here. As the Chamber's SVP of Membership, I lead a team of 5 sales professionals and membership professionals who are dedicated to the recruitment, the care for, the cultivation of our organization's 1,714 members. Part of that cultivation, part of that care is really knowing what our members are looking for, what the business priorities are for each of them. It's not a one-size-fits-all type membership. It really is a personalized look at each member, what their priorities are, and how we can sort of align that within the chamber. Every member of our chamber, when they come on, and then throughout the course of their time with us, they receive engagement plans, and those plans really look at their business priorities and look at what's important to them from an industry standpoint. And then we're able to highlight and recommend the programs, the opportunities at the chamber that will really impact them, impact their business, and be an asset for their employees. Someone asked me recently what the most important aspect of my job was, and I don't think that's changed. My answer hasn't changed today from 4 years ago when I started at the Chamber. I think the most important aspect of my job is member care, and is viewing everything we do at the Chamber, every decision we make, every program that we put out is all done through the eye of the member. What is going to be beneficial and what will impact the member? So I could literally go on, but I'll stop there. So thanks, Bryan, and thank you for having us today, Missy.
You know, our business members are really incredible, and we know that we have a number of the folks on the call today that are members of the Chamber. And Missy didn't share this with you. Your Zoom screen will be captured till everyone on the call is a member of the Chamber today. So if that takes till 5 p.m., you know, that's your choice. We can move much more rapidly. Tim's ready to go. So all kidding aside, you know, Tim hit on something that's so important with regard to how we work with our members. We want to understand exactly what's required for them to have success with their business goals and to increase our region's economy and the resiliency of our metro area. That's a big task. And the model we have always used in chambers across the country is we convene people, we get them face to face. And it's a fabulous model. And what we discovered as a distinct challenge come that second week of March is that model no longer worked. And oddly enough, that morning, Thursday, March the 12th, we were in a senior planning meeting. And I'm going to let Tim talk about what happened during that day as our model kind of disappeared.
Yeah, we talked about the world sort of changing as we knew it in that 5-hour meeting. And Bryan, I think you said yesterday, we started that meeting off with a very clear set of priorities and sort of goals for the afternoon, what we wanted to accomplish. And by the end of that 5-hour meeting, after phones began blowing up, after I think it was the NBA was the first to sort of announce their season ending, or their season not happening, I should say. I think we all looked at each other around that table in your office, Bryan, and knew that what we had just talked about for the last 4 or so hours no longer mattered, and we had to make a quick change. And yeah, it was a very strange feeling.
Yeah, I know a lot of the people that are listening today, you went through that same set of emotions, that same set of feelings on that Thursday. I'll always remember driving to work the next day thinking we just left the map of the known world. We'd sailed off the edge of the map and we were in uncharted territory. I know we all experienced that week. And our goal was, as we rolled into work on Friday, how do we make a pivot? So over the next 5 days, we rolled up our sleeves and we really went to work, building a brand new business model. And that's a virtual member engagement platform. Just like everything else we do, members were at the center of the new business model. And I'm going to have Tim talk about what our team did that week following that Thursday, because it defined who we are today and it showed how important our members are to us.
Sure. You know, I spoke briefly about member care just a few moments ago, and that's sort of the first pivot we went to was we need to speak to our members. We need to get on the phones. We need to be reaching out via email. And so we were able to contact all 1,714 business members throughout our entire organization. So it really wasn't an organization-wide effort, and everyone just got on the phones. The calls were incredible. They were inspiring. They were also sad, I'll be very honest, at times, depending on who you were speaking with. You know, I had a conversation one afternoon. I think this was on the Monday after. So that Monday morning, I spoke with someone who runs a hotel downtown, a large hotel, And it was bleak. It was not a good outlook. And she was concerned for her staff. She was concerned for her family. She was concerned for her country. And immediately we knew that this was very different, and this was a situation that was not just going to sort of go away overnight. Calls we had with other members were inspiring and were really showed that members wanted to help those in the community that were going to be impacted by this in a different way. And so you heard about members really asking about who they can connect with, who they can be a resource for, how they and their company could lend a hand. I think of a healthcare facility in West Ashley. He's actually, the man who runs it is my neighbor down the street. I had put something on Facebook about MUSC and some needs that they had. He called me and said that his nursing home facility was in desperate need of PPE. And it was a long list of products and of equipment that they really were in desperate need of. And through a couple of phone calls and emails, I was able to connect him with some members that were able to help him with those needs. And that, I've seen that throughout this entire 2 months of COVID. And that's inspiring. It's so great to see members and folks in the business community leaning in like never before.
Those calls were at the heart of our new business model, and we were excited for Tim to share a couple of examples. There were really 4 clear signals we heard from our members that immediately set the cornerstones for our new business model. You're going to see the organization action report for April on your screen share, and those 4 foundational cornerstones are right at the top. Keeping businesses in business, keeping people employed, keeping our communities healthy, and keeping our eye on restarting the economy. Those became our priorities. We'd always been immediate and very future oriented when it came to change and long-term strategic. Well, all of that suddenly became, what are we going to do in the immediate days and weeks ahead? Those 4 things allowed us to develop 3 different initiative platforms that we're delivering our chamber through right now. Tim's going to talk about the first 2, and they're also on your screen share page. And then I'm going to pick up the last one so you can see the brand new business model as it's defined by our members that we're now executing.
The first thing we tapped into is that what our members wanted was timely, relevant information. They were wondering about and wanting to talk about the future, the opportunity for the chamber to provide webinars and conference calls. We provided, I believe, over 34 now webinars since the middle of March. We've been able to fulfill that expectation, and with more than 1,500 members participating, they've received expert perspectives on what's coming next, how to prepare for the future. Luckily, the webinars have been posted on our website, and they've been recorded, so you can go on there if you're interested. And that's charlestonchamber.org. It's on our COVID-19 web resource page. So they're available to you. They're available to your team, your employees to view. And we keep talking about connecting members, and daily we're still doing that today. It's going into the 3rd month of COVID-19 and of this sort of new normal. I hate that term, by the way, new normal. I think we need to come up with a different term. But going into the 3rd month of this new normal, we continue to hear about members who are in need, and whose businesses are in need, whose industries are in need, and we're able to continue connecting them to those resources and to the people and to the information that they need. So I would encourage you to check out the Charleston Chamber website and our COVID-19 web resource page for more information on those webinars. The second set of initiatives is built around the Chamber's capacity to connect people with needed expertise to help them stabilize and to help them recover their business. One of the coolest opportunities that has come out of this has been our Profs on Call. Profs on Call connects our small business owners with faculty members from the College of Charleston, the Citadel, Charleston Southern University, and they receive dedicated business advice in running their companies during this crisis. 2 weeks ago, excuse me, we partnered with another chamber member, Chernoff Newman, and the Columbia and the Greenville chambers were part of this. We were part of a statewide consumer confidence poll, and you can review the surveys of that and the analysis of that also on the Chernoff Newman site at insights.chernoffnewman.com. The results will inform your future business development strategies, and really just some interesting takeaways from that. So I would encourage you to check that out over the weekend if you have some time. Bryan, back to you.
Thank you, Tim. I want to emphasize something that Tim shared. Our goal right now, those 1,714 members obviously are our top goal. We're also committed to help every business and organization in the region. So please take advantage of what Tim shared. Go to our website, and the COVID-19 web resource page can be accessed right off the homepage. Everything that we've described is on that web resource page. And we would want you and your employees and colleagues to take advantage of that. The information's rich and robust. It will allow you to chart a sound course for your business stabilization and recovery. And we want to help every business. We know that as we raise every business up, our whole region will be more successful. The final initiative platform is about the future and helping our region recover and build back. And at the center of that platform is we need to establish confidence in our metro area. Nothing's going to be more valuable in the days and weeks ahead than that opportunity. Also, people going back to work, jobs created is incredibly important. And a part of that website that we've been talking about is the Chamber's Talent Connection webpage. Today, it lists 64 regional employers that are in the process of hiring. There are more than 3,000 jobs listed there. And every day we have new employers and new job opportunities being added to the site. So if someone in your family, you personally have been impacted by losing your job or being furloughed, I would encourage you to have people look at that site on a daily basis for job opportunities. If you are personally hiring, we would love to have you added to that group. We want to get this region and our wonderful citizens back to work. The second half of that effort, actually 21 days ago, the mayors of the region and our county elected officials approached the CRDA, Charleston Regional Development Alliance, and our chamber through our co-leadership of one region and asked us to develop a plan for our economy to recover. That plan, as I mentioned at the outset of our program today, is entitled Reignite, a Safe Return to Business for the Charleston region. And Tim and I are going to be previewing that plan with you in 1 second. But first, we wanted to stop at this juncture and ask Missy if there were any questions about the first half of the program, because we want to answer those before we head into the Reignite plan.
Thank you, gentlemen. I actually don't see any questions so far, so I'm sure there will be after we have this one region that you guys share with us.
Awesome. You know, it pairs right up to becoming a chamber member. We can stay here a long time until we fully answer all your questions. So please share questions with us. We want to make sure everybody has a productive session here and a good start to the rest of your day. We're going to do something a little bit different. You're all used to hearing PowerPoints, seeing PowerPoints. So we're going to jazz our approach up here. And Tim's going to interview me. So just imagine a Stephen Colbert
Oh
Jimmy
boy.
Kimmel, Conan O'Brien transformation of Tim Rogers. He's now 3-1. And just like Stephen, he's doing the show from his home today. So we're excited to welcome Tim to the show, and we're going to talk about the Reignite plan now.
These are tall orders for a Friday morning at 8:22 a.m. I'll try and do Jimmy Kimmel proud. Bryan, how did the Reignite plan come about?
You know, it's interesting. A lot of what's going to happen in our metro area in the days and weeks ahead will come down to leadership and who's willing to step forward and exercise leadership. We got the request, as I shared 3 Thursdays ago. It started from the city of Charleston Mayor John Tecklenburg and Elliott Summey with Charleston County Council. So then it expanded to other mayors stepping up and asking, along with other county elected officials in Berkeley and Dorchester County. So it was exciting to get the request, and I'll be candid with all of you at the same time. Somewhat intimidating. It's a big deal to look at how we revitalize a whole economy in a metro area. So the charge came to one region, and Tim's going to take us through a series of questions that allow us to examine who that group is and why it got the call and what the plan looks like.
Yeah, so why don't we start with sort of an explanation of what one region is and why it makes sense to tap into one region to lead this recovery effort.
Yeah, we're gonna skip down a couple of slides. First of all, the mission of one region is so important. This group came together 4 years ago with a values-based plan to assure that we had a globally competitive region where people are actively engaged across all 3 counties, and they have opportunities to flourish regardless of their walk in life or status. So it's one of the first values-based economic development plans in the nation, and that in and of itself is very powerful. We're going to take a look at its 4 primary goals, and I think you'll see why it was tapped. So you can see those on your screen. The desire for this group was to come together for a strong, resilient economy. We think that's the lifeblood of any region, and that was its #1 focus. Secondly, attainable opportunities for all residents to live, learn, and earn. We have a recognition that we have a responsibility for both the wealth and well-being of every greater Charlestonian, balancing growth with our unique character as a region. All you have to do is look out your window. We live in one of the most beautiful places in the United States. So how do we honor that along with the opportunity for people to be employed and have a strong livelihood? And then the last one is, how do we become a more connected community? There's a saying in economic development, it's not your ingredients that matter so much, it's how you mix them. I've seen metros that have great ingredients, but they have difficulty getting together on top priorities and bringing all the right people to bear. That's one of the goals of one region. So Tim, between that mission and the goals and values, it was just the right candidate for leading this recovery effort.
When looking at the recovery effort and the lift that's going to be required, how big of a lift do you see this as? Is it going to be similar to Hurricane Hugo? Is it going to be as demanding of a recovery as the closing of the naval base was?
Well, just like you have many guests that do this, I'm going to give you 3 answers. The first answer is yes. I think on an intensity and depth of impact on certain sectors. You commented earlier on your telephone call with a hotelier. When you look at what's happening with our food and beverage industry, I think certain sectors have been hit so hard by this that their recovery process will be comparable to what occurred with those other two very challenging recovery time periods in our region. My answer with regard to no is thankfully when we entered into this process, we had some financial and economic fundamentals that were very strong. So I think given the final part of this answer, we may have a stronger recovery, potentially in a quicker time frame. But the caveat is the last part of the answer. I think there are two big unknowns. The first one is restoring confidence across all sectors of our economy and the consumer and general public. I mentioned at the start of our conversation this morning that 68% of Americans in a poll taken yesterday are concerned that their states are reopening too quickly. So the 40 states that are reopening, about 70% of the residents in those states, they need confidence. They need assurance. We can open all the businesses we want unless there are people that are actually frequenting those businesses and allowing commerce to occur, then we've still got challenges. So you're going to see more in this plan about how it's geared to develop that confidence. I think the second factor is the need to be safe and smart in keeping the coronavirus contained until we have antivirals or a vaccination.
Right.
Part of this plan is geared to assure that our top medical professional and hospital systems will be daily monitoring where we stand with COVID-19 cases and the availability within their hospitals to handle the level of cases that we're facing in our region. So confidence and then monitoring and responding are the unknowns. So those are things that we're going to need to work on to make sure the recovery unfolds in a very positive way.
Sure. How is Reignite designed to facilitate that confidence? What assurances, excuse me, as we monitor COVID-19 in our region, the folks are concerned. They're questioning a lot. So how can we use Reignite to sort of facilitate that confidence?
Yeah, we're gonna go to a slide right in the PowerPoint because it captures that. Number one, this is the top issue that we're facing. So the focus and intensity is going to be really high, but there's a real clear strategy. There are some very clear component parts to the plan. First of all, I think confidence comes from the fact that we're using a three-legged stool to build a plan and execute it and to monitor it, and to every time there needs to be a new iteration, a change of course, we're going to start with our healthcare community. So we're incredibly blessed to have tremendous health systems and hospitals in our region. So those folks are going to be at the table every day monitoring how we're doing. The second thing is our government leaders have come together. Pick your state, pick your region. We're demonstrating that we're better at fighting than we are at cooperating. That's not the case in our region. So we're excited that all the elected leadership is warmly receiving the Reignite plan. They're behind it. They've designed it. And finally, this has been designed by businesses. You'll see the plan later today as it's released, and then the business guidelines that come out in the weeks ahead are geared to help a business owner, small, medium, or large, feel confident that she or he can reopen their business, take care of their employees, and take care of their customers. So we're fortunate that we have those three groups coming together. The other thing is coordination on a statewide basis. We're knowledgeable and in contact with Governor McMaster and the leaders that are putting together the Accelerate South Carolina plan for the economic recovery of our state. This plan and that plan will work hand in glove. And again, we feel confident that between that coordination and communication, we're able to provide the confidence and assurance.
Overall, what are we trying to accomplish with the Reignite plan?
When you go to the next slide, it really hits on those three goals. Number one, we need to get the economy reopened. 33 million people in the United States are unemployed today. Many of our small businesses, even with payroll protection plans, they're facing challenging cash flow scenarios in the days and weeks ahead. We want to have one set of regional guidelines that all businesses can voluntarily commit to practice. One region doesn't have regulatory power. We wouldn't want it. This is a prescriptive roadmap. We want to help that business owner and their employees feel secure that they have a way to open safely and that they can stay open in the days and weeks ahead. And finally, as I've shared, Tim, I think the trump card in this whole thing it's consumer confidence.
Sure.
And I think that the metrics that are associated with the health and safety indicators in the plan, you'll be able to pull them up on the website, which is oneregionreignite.com. So if you're looking at a decision, do I return to work? Do I go out in public? The metrics will be available to help you have confidence and assurance. Also that we're going to encourage businesses that voluntarily look at the guidelines to indicate a preparedness pledge. So when a customer comes into their place of business, they can be assured that this company has looked at what one region recommends for reopening, and they are preparing their business and their employees to do that safely. I think that preparedness pledge is an
Sure.
important part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. How soon will we be ready to go with this, Bryan?
Well, I got to give Missy credit. Talk about inviting us to talk on the day that it happens. On the next slide, you'll see the schedule that we have in front of us. The plan
that wasn't planned, by the way.
Yeah, the plan will be released this afternoon. I would encourage every person on the call today to take time to read the plan, share it with your business colleagues, your employees. It's extremely well done. It will be a confidence builder. And then as the business guidelines come out, there will be the opportunity for sector by sector, company by company, to look at the guidelines for adopting the proper practices within their businesses. We're going to start today with food and beverage and small businesses. So those guidelines will be co-released with the Reignite plan itself, and then other sectors will follow in the weeks ahead. So everybody should be extremely well informed with regard to what they can do with their own companies. We've heard from a number of our members who have already adopted industry standard guidelines or guidelines from looking at what the CDC is recommending. These are not to replace what companies already feel they're doing effectively. These are to supplement and strengthen what they're doing. So again, we want to put information in people's hands so they can make solid and sound decisions about safely reopening. Talked a little bit about the seal of approval. It's just a system where businesses can say, hey, we get it. We want to give our customers that level of confidence that we're doing the right stuff. I got a really tremendous letter from my dentist at the beginning of the week where he indicated everything that he and his staff are doing for assuring patient safety. And that's another thing that we would encourage every business to do, is to make a full reach out to your membership, to connect your customer base, and let them know what you're doing. That's going to up their confidence and assurance that, yes,
Sure.
I can go back to this place of business and be safe. And they're also concerned about protecting their employees and the livelihood of their business. So that's what we want to do through Reignite.
Bryan, thanks. That is an exciting plan. We're excited to release part of that today, and we're very happy to take questions. Missy, if there are questions from the audience, we'd be happy to take some of those.
Yeah, so we have a few. So I'm going to start. First one, Are the chambers taking any stance or making recommendations to the area municipalities to become more business friendly and encourage recovery and growth as we come out of the COVID crisis? Particularly Mount Pleasant and the impact fee assessments, most cities, counties on the permitting delays, and water and sewer authorities on approval times.
Yes, yes, and yes. We have 2 full-time lobbyists on our team. Every issue that's been mentioned is on our regional set of policy goals and objectives. I think that we're in a very unique time period where the sensitivity of assuring that we give businesses every opportunity to be successful is at a new height. So I think electeds are an old lobbying term that Tim and I are familiar with. They're a little more malleable right now. I think some of the stuff on moving more rapidly with regard to plans for getting approval for business construction, I think some of that's a capacity issue. Hopefully we're going to be able to deal with having more people that can be in a review mindset and move through plans more rapidly. One of the things that we worked on about 4 weeks ago was encouraging the city of Charleston to move to virtual meetings for those processes. And we're successful in getting that vote. So we'll have our eye on those things. And Scott Barheit and George Ramsey on our team would welcome any input that you would have with regard to particular desires and needs in those areas.
Wonderful, thank you. So actually the questions are coming in, which is great. So what are your top 3 learnings you've realized since mid-March?
Oh, wow.
Good question.
I'll let Tim do one. I'll do one, and then Tim can do one.
Yeah.
Top three, Tim. You get to start.
Top 3. I think the biggest learning is the amount of care, the amount of concern for others is strong in this community. It may not be strong elsewhere. I mean, we hear stories on the news and we read about different things, but in Charleston, it's very different. I have received so many phone calls, so many emails, so many folks in my neighborhood as I'm walking my dog asking how they can lend a hand, who in the community needs help. So that sense of care is alive and well in Charleston.
And you know, to Tim's point, I bet all 40 people on this call are in that same mindset. And we're getting a lot of questions. How can I help with Reignite? And here's what we're sharing. Read the plan and gain an understanding of what it's attempting to do. When you get the guidelines and they're specific for your individual business or sector, share them with other businesses in that sector that you know. Third, be conscious about what the monitor and reporting data being shared is, so you can be knowledgeable about your assurance and confidence of being in public. And then go to the website. We've contracted with Chernoff Newman as our consultant. The website that's been built in literally 8 days is phenomenal. And it will continue to get richer in content and information. I think every citizen needs to be obligated to be knowledgeable about their role. And I think that's why Tim shared what he did. I think people here want to help. And while everyone is antsy to return to social connectivity and the way things were, it's going to be a while. We're sharing some truths with you today. And maybe that's the second greatest learning. This is not a snap back to normal.
Right.
It's not going to happen. And until we get those antivirals, until we get the vaccine, this plan is based on recovery over a number of months. We're not going to roll into July and it's going to look like it did. So I think the greatest learning there is we need to stay in the game until the whistle blows. And it's not going to be one quarter. this game could go into overtime. So I think the resiliency, the learning will be continue to be resilient, continue to be committed to learn, and to be agile and adaptable. That would be my greatest learning. We're seeing it across our region, and we all have to become practitioners. Tim, I'll give you the third.
Well, I'm going to piggyback on what you said. We're seeing a lot of creativity with how business owners and how folks in the community are sustaining their business. There's things that are happening all throughout the community, all throughout the Tri-County, that we wouldn't have even thought of 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I look to the F&B and hospitality industry, the way they've pivoted. Range Hospitality. They have 5 properties in the Mount Pleasant area, and of course I'm blanking on the name of the property. It's at Town Center, but I spoke with their director of sales probably 2 months ago, right at the beginning of this, and she had made the decision, because they were seeing 5%, 10% occupancy, to rent their rooms out daily for officing, for telecommuting. If folks were at home and they didn't have the space to go to, if folks were at home and there were a lot of distractions in the background, that they could, for whatever it was, say $60, $40, they'd have internet, they'd have a room. Pivots like that and creative approaches to sustaining your business and keeping your teams employed has been a very sort of huge part of this. And it's something that continually I'm amazed and I'm inspired by. So that's my third.
Just to build on Tim's third, we'll give you a 3B. I think the other learning is we're doing it right now in our organization. Even though we made the pivot to a brand new business model, business platform, we're looking at assumptions and then strategic enablers to build the second round of our business plan. So I would encourage every business owner on this call to think about the new assumptions. If you want to see ours, you can email me at bderreberry@charlestonchamber.org. I'll be happy to share how we've looked at assumptions for our particular industry, and then how it will change who we are and what we do in the short term. And then I think longer. Think, what am I going to look like the second half of 2021 as a business? What will that require me to do today to be ready for what we're calling the thrive period of recovery? So short-term game plan to make it through to the period where we're fully thriving again as an economy. So I think Tim captured that. So many businesses are in that mode right now. And if you think you're going to be able to practice your business plan that you entered 2020 with, you already know that that's not realistic. And you'll see in the assumptions that you're going to need to make, they can be hard. I mean, a lot of our budget relies on large member attendance events, 400, 500, 600, 700 people. We're not going to have those till at least spring, summer of 2021. So we know right now we've got to reconfigure that part of our budget, that part of our business plan. So I would encourage you to be bold and honest with your business assumptions, because, I saw temporary new normal, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be different in the days ahead. So I think that's the other, building on Tim's learning, you got to be adaptable.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So next question. Good stakeholders at the table, but don't see consumers included as a specific group. How are you including them?
Well, there are a lot of businesses at that table that have customers and consumers. That's one way. I think the other way is we're going to be looking at feedback mechanisms, polling, surveying. We'll be working with Chernoff to look at another consumer confidence survey. So we want to continue to track that data. Tim gave you the website information on that. It's running 2 weeks old now. We're pulling together a data group as part of one region, and they come together next week And one of their charges will be looking at how we acquire the data throughout the region that indicate the level of consumer confidence and assurance. So again, on the website with releases, you're going to see more and more of that data.
Great. Okay, next question. Many of the small retailers in Charleston don't have robust websites for purchasing. Any help for them to get an online presence, as many of us are preferring to buy online? Plus, it's an opportunity for those who live elsewhere who love Charleston, can help retailers here.
Sure, I can take that. There's a few ways that we can help. We can, as a chamber, we can push out through our social media platforms, through our member announcements on our website, push out all types of promotions and opportunities that our retailers have. You don't have to be a chamber member. We've been joking a lot in this call about that, but all joking aside, right now, everything we're doing at the chamber, everything we're doing through One Region, this is for the region, this is for the community. It's not specific just to chamber members. So I'd be happy to talk with some of the smaller retailers. I'd be happy to post on our website. I'd also be happy to connect them with a company they're web developers who are, in light of COVID-19, who are working with small business to create websites for them at no profit. There may be a small charge based on cost, but no profit to that web developer. So Missy, you and I can get together after the call and I can give that information if you want to send that out. But and this goes back to what I said earlier about folks in the community really wanting to lean in and lend a hand. Someone wants to offer their services to develop websites for small business.
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next question is, a member says, COVID did not affect our economy, the shutdowns did. It's clear for everyone that we should never have stopped the economy. Does the chamber have a plan to make sure that this does not repeat again? How are we going to affect the government to make sure nothing like this will happen again?
I think in the construct of Reignite, we've been extremely conscious of bringing what we call the gatekeepers together. So private sector leadership that's responsible for day in and day out operation of the economy. Obviously the medical profession, the last thing we would ever want to do would be to look like a hot spot, a Seattle, a New York City, other areas in the country that have not had appropriate procedures during the time period to keep us below that elevated curve. And I think the other thing is we're going to be sensitive to what we learn from medical professionals. One of the goals is to assure that maybe I don't have a COVID-related challenge, but if all the hospital beds are full with COVID patients and I can't get in for recovering from a heart attack or some other challenge associated with needing immediate care, then we put our region in a crisis position. So the goal has been all along to be balanced, to look at the data. We don't believe certain areas have effectively monitored and responded to the data. We don't have those major challenges right now. 3 of the 4 medical and safety procedural charts in our plan are green. But if they all become red, then we've got a challenge. So I think it's being true and realistic with regard to input from all 3 of those core areas that'll allow the region to move forward. The whole reason to release this plan is to jumpstart that, to give business owners, employees, and consumers confidence. So our goal is to get it up and get it running and keep it running. And talking to one of the top epidemiologists at MUSC that's thoroughly reviewed the plan, their perception is that if we do all the things the plan recommends, along with the guidelines and different businesses, we should be able to stay under the curve and stay open. So I don't believe there's a yes, no answer. There's a lot of anecdotes and a lot of questions. I think with all 3 of those major sectors and focused on it, that we've got a good chance to ramp it up and keep it ramped.
Wonderful. Quick question about releasing the guidelines, and then, so where can everyone go to access them? Are they going to be emailed, or are they going to be, how can they get the guidelines that are sent out today?
I think it's going to be a push-pull. A lot of them will be sent out via all the organizations that are involved with one region. So they'll be coming out from elected officials, they'll be coming out from business member organizations. The pull is go to oneregionreignite.com. The plan will be there, the guidelines will be there. So that's what I mean by push-pull. We're going to disseminate as broadly and as quickly as possible. I would make that website, along with charlestonchamber.org, your top 2 places to visit on a daily basis, so you can obtain the information that you need for your company.
Wonderful. So next question. How will the arts organizations recover in our community, which is known as a cultural arts city? What is a tourism recovery plan?
Well, fortunately, we have Helen Hill with Explore Charleston, or Charleston Area CVB, whichever title you like better. She sits both on the One Region Executive Committee, and she's also on Governor McMaster's Accelerate SC Task Force. So believe me, if anyone is working actively daily to make sure that there's a recovery of our travel and tourism industry, it's Helen.
Absolutely.
I think the other reality, and let's just be very candid, until people get comfortable getting in their cars and driving here, or getting on an airplane and flying here, that's a huge part of the equation. And that comes back to building that confidence and assurance that our region is both able to have them visit and have them be safe. Also, we have folks from the Donnelly Foundation. Terry Forrest is on our One Region Executive Committee, and they have a strong commitment to the arts. So that will continue to be a focal point as we move forward. I guess I give the analogy, and I think it'll be helpful to everybody who's ever done this. We are literally building this race car as we're racing. So every day.
Good analogy.
That's a really good analogy.
Every day new needs are being made available. And the thing for Tim, myself, members of our team that are leaning into this One Region Reignite plan, we still have full-time day jobs. So we're looking today at how we both resource the effort and assure that it has the right scope. So this is going to be a 12 to 18 month thing, and it will have to make choices about what it focuses on. We chose to focus first on getting the economy reopened. We believe that's absolutely vital for the future health and well-being of our region. We'll be looking at childcare, education. We'll be looking at populations that are vulnerable. We'll be looking at recovery by sector. So all those things will come. This is kind of like being told you need to invade at Normandy 3 weeks ago. So we'd ask for your patience, your continued support. And when we do have questions, you can get them to Missy, Tim, and myself, because we can provide a direct conduit to One Region. I think probably a fourth learning, to go back to the 3 learnings and add one more with regard to that question. I think our community will be permanently transformed by this effort. Sometimes we've had to rally for hurricane recovery. I think that we will embed in our metro area a capacity to handle any type of crisis more effectively as we move forward. That's our hope and aspiration. So I wish I could crystal ball with everyone what 30, 60, 90 days look like now for travel and tourism. And it's just right now blocking and tackling one day at a time.
Yeah. I've read something yesterday about the tourism industry that said it'll look like the levels of 2000 for the foreseeable future, for the next call it 12 months, 12 to 18 months. There was an article in the Post and Courier yesterday that really went a bit deeper into that. So I'd encourage you to look for that. Something quickly to add about the arts component of that question. I was on a call yesterday with the folks from the aquarium, folks from the Gibbs, folks from the Gilliard, and this goes back to that sort of creative aspect of what I mentioned earlier. The way in which that community in Charleston is, I mean, they've always been a very integrated community, but the way they're working together, the way they are positioning themselves coming out of this sort of shutdown, and as we ramp up to reopen, you're going to see some very exciting initiatives from those three in particular. There are others involved as well, and I would just say stay tuned for more on some of that work in Charleston.
Wonderful. So I think it might be a connection with you, Tim, but I have a question that says how many members are in the chamber, which we said it was what, 1,417?
It's 1,714 as of yesterday.
And the cost.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, and the cost.
The cost of membership?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's a longer question. There's a basic business membership, and then there's different levels of membership based on your interest, based on your employee size and count. So I'd be happy to talk to them offline.
Perfect.
You know, Missy, as Tim shared, we're going to tailor each membership package to that company's goals, objectives, and how they want to use our membership. It's different than, say, I'm joining a healthcare facility, and they're showing me the Zumba room and the sauna, and all I want to do is lift free weights and be on a cross trainer. So it gets geared to, we're not going to offer you everything under the sun. Tim will know exactly what you want, and he can tailor the memberships to your specific business and employee needs, because every person on your staff becomes a member of the chamber. So we have tremendous leadership programming, professional development programming. So not only is it for you, the business owner, it's also for every one of your team members.
Wonderful.
I think I'm having some technical issues. If I go in and out, I apologize. If someone talks to me and I don't respond, it's because my phone's going out.
So they would just call you, Tim, and an individual can join the chamber as well. Was the other
Absolutely.
question?
Oh, yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, I think as far as all the questions, I think I've answered most of them. A couple comments of thank yous. Thank you for making this plan positive, focusing on rebuilding and helping each other. Unlike the media and government that seems to want to focus on the negatives, we need to look forward, helping each other. So.
Well said.
Really thank you both for coming and joining us this morning. It was an honor to have you, and I think we all learned a lot, and really excited about One Region, so in the Reignite.
Missy, to Tim's point, however we can help any business on this call, just let us know. We're
absolutely
ready and willing and able to do that. We are super excited about the Harbour Club's new location, and can't wait till we're all there. It would be nice the next time we do this that we're in that facility reporting to you face to face, and may that happen very quickly. And we want to thank you for your time today, and God bless each of you and your families and your teams.
Thank you. And then everybody mark your calendars. We will have a virtual business breakfast series Thursday, May 28th with Mayor Tecklenburg, who's going to speak about reopening Charleston. So thank you, gentlemen. Have a wonderful Friday. A wise person told me